Hey guys, it's Ryan.
And this is Kyle.
And you are listening to
The Doctor's Watcher, the Doctor Who podcast that says power to the fish people.
Excellent. Indeed. We want power for all people, not just fish people, and not restricted from fish people either.
Indeed. Hashtag Fish Lives Matter. I might cut that because I don't know if that's kosher to joke about or not, but
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, of course, some asshole's probably going to be like, well, crustacean lives matter too. Or, I don't know, all undersea lives matter.
Yeah, dude, we agree. And so we're focusing on the ones who have had power taken from them. Like,
right.
Crustaceans are fine, man.
Right. Crustaceans live comfortable lives within their shell. You literally can't take their home.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, we should probably consider chopping that off. I don't know. I don't know if we should leave it in and then, let the audience do these debates in their own head or what. So anyway, yeah, okay, cool. Well, how's it going, Kyle?
Doing pretty good. I have actually played a couple of video games recently that I thought I would mention. One of them I actually learned about at work because, the company I work for is remote first, which is cool. That is like one of the main reasons I went there. Mm-hmm. And so the team I work on is entirely remote, and we're like, we should do some like team building, camaraderie type shit. But like, how do we do that since we're all in different places? Then we're like, I know, let's play a video game together.
Awesome.
Yeah. So my boss bought us all a copy of Pico Park, which is kind of a little, I guess, party game type situation. It's multiplayer only. There's no single player thing you can do in it. But, it's local or remote multiplayer. I think it's like 2 to 8 players. And it's basically, kind of a side scroller platformer. But it has like all these puzzles that explicitly involve the players working together. So
cool.
It'll be shit like, somebody, you can't jump far enough to clear this gap normally. But if you like stack a few picos, that's like the characters, you stack a few on top of each other, then whoever's on top of the stack can then clear the gap. And then they can go and like push the button that like covers up the gap and lets everyone else walk across.
Nice. That's fun.
So yeah, that sort of thing.
Cool.
So yeah, we played it for an hour or so at work, and I was like, oh, that was actually pretty fun. And then a few days later, I went and bought it on my Switch so my partner and I can play it together.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So we tried it and she's like, yeah, that was pretty fun. She's not really like that big of a gamer herself, but she's like, yeah, this is cool. It's like not that complicated. We can like do it together and have a fun time. So
you can do it together on one handheld system?
Yeah, since the Switch, I guess you could buy like more controllers for it, but like the Switch controller itself is like 2 pieces.
Oh, yeah.
The single controller can actually be 2 controllers that are kind of awkward to hold, but it works.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun. That's awesome that you can, that's good design on Nintendo's part.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, then the other one I was going to mention, I just picked up yesterday, and it's called Totally Reliable Delivery Service. And yeah, it's basically like kind of an open world package delivery game, but it's like pretty simple graphics and it's like totally ragdoll physics. So, you know, kind of a lot of the fun of the game is that it's not really very easy to control, and, you know, you're kind of like throwing these packages around and you get like all sorts of different vehicles that you can use, you know, everything from like basically golf carts to like speedboats and helicopters and shit.
Awesome.
And yeah, so you just kind of like ragdoll some boxes around and play with ridiculous vehicles. I guess it also has multiplayer, but I haven't tried that at all. Yeah, not too complicated, but pretty fun.
Nice. That sounds pretty fun. I'm not playing any new video games since last time, but there's one I am kind of curious about that looks pretty fun. I think it's still early release stages at this point, but it's called Schedule 1. And I don't know if you remember that game. I think it was called like Drug Lord or something like that from back in like the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s. Or like you were, I think you were mostly like trying to get, you know, better strains of wheat to grow and then selling the weed in the right spots to make the most money, and then buying drugs when they were cheap and selling them somewhere else where they're expensive and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I feel like there might have been like a TI-85 version of it or something.
Yeah, that's the first version I remember. But yeah, there was like a few different iterations of it, or clones, or, you know, ripoffs and knockoffs. Well, this is one, you know, very much in that genre.
Nice.
But it looks like it's pretty simplistic graphics, but it is 3D-ish looking. And yeah, it looks pretty fun. Supposedly it's like, you know, it's got a bunch of people addicted, and, you know, you're kind of like this little cartoony drug lord type guy. It looks like you can get into like fights with other, you know, drug sellers and the police and stuff like that. And,
nice.
You know, you can look for different, you know, better seeds for your weed, and, you know, get into buying and selling different types of drugs and dealing with shady characters and crap like that. Seems pretty fun. But yeah, I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, that could be pretty entertaining.
I did have one kind of interesting little adventure of sorts that I've been ranting about. I don't know. I think it's worth mentioning somewhat. Maybe it's kind of funny or something. But like, so I'm used to, you know, owning the things I buy, right? Like,
sure. My
computer, I run Linux. I'm in control of that. My phone, I run not iOS, not Android. It's an Android variant called Graphene. I'm in control on Graphene.
Nice.
Like, it doesn't blab my GPS out all over the place unless I explicitly allow it to. So yeah, I forgot. Like, I've grown used to being in control of my own possessions, which is a weird thing, I guess, these days, because for work, I got an Apple or a Mac laptop. Is it Pro, I think? MacBook Pro or whatever.
Yeah.
And I also got a work phone, which is an iPhone. I was like, oh, well, you know, at least, you know, they're very compatible together. Everything looks the same. It's kind of boring to me, like how everything sort of responds and acts and looks the same. And they're like totally tied together. You know, I get an update because I received an email on one, and I get the same update on the other one that I received an email. And whatever, it's fine. It's work stuff, you know, work equipment.
Right. But keep it in the work ecosphere.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're allowed to be connected, I guess, if that's what work wants.
Right.
But I turned the phone into do not disturb mode because I kept getting a bunch of spam. Like, I think the person that had the number before me was named DeMarcus, because I keep getting like all these text ads and like calls for DeMarcus. And like different, like totally random things that really want DeMarcus to like spend money on, you know, this stock, or like, DeMarcus, check out this new car insurance or whatever. Anyway, so I put the phone into do not disturb, and then it took me like half a day to realize that without asking, it also had put my laptop into do not disturb.
Oh, funny. Interesting.
Yeah. So like, I wasn't really watching Teams. I wasn't really watching Outlook.
Right.
But then I switched to one of them, and I was like, oh, fuck, I've gotten like a bunch of messages and a bunch of emails, and people are asking me questions and needing my help. And this thing just decided to go on do not disturb because I put the phone on that too.
Yeah, that's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, like it's going to hold my hand right off a damn cliff. So I've been ranting about this to various people, and it's very, very funny or interesting when I tell this rant to like an Apple person, right, who's bought into their ecosystem and is totally okay with their user-friendly, like, baby hand-holding bullshit. I had one friend that was like, well, you can decouple them and have them not be synced. And, once you kind of get used to it, it's not so bad. Like, you're just not used to it. You're just being surprised by all this stuff. And I'm like, look, that is the philosophy of an abused person.
Yeah.
Like, if you get used to how it's going to surprise you and hurt you, it's not so bad. Like, my phone talks to my computer at home, but it's in a limited way where I can like share links and share files when I ask it to. Like, it doesn't just do shit without me explicitly saying.
Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway, that's my rant about that. But I find that both hilarious and frustrating. Like, user friendliness is only one person's idea of user friendliness, and usually it involves like a high level of stupid shit too.
Yeah, definitely. It's like
a high level of losing control and having decisions made for you.
Yeah, for sure. Which, yeah, it's like if those are decisions that you don't really care about, then sure, that's fine. But if it's that, like, you don't know that you should care about that, or they're not telling you that, like, this is happening, then, that's not cool. I don't like that.
Right. Like a single pop-up on my laptop saying, hey, we saw you put your phone in Do Not Disturb. Do you want that here too? Problem fucking solved. Easy.
Then you could say like yes or no, and there could be a little checkbox that says like, don't fucking ask me again.
Yeah, exactly. And I would use that checkbox. But man, so dumb. So dumb.
Yeah.
But anyway, on a lighter note, do you know what the similarity is between a man that's had a vasectomy and a Christmas tree?
No, I don't think I do.
Decorative balls.
Nice. I know a handful of people who've had vasectomies, and I completely support that and think that everyone should do what is best for them. And I don't know that I want my balls getting cut into personally.
Yeah,
I suppose it's probably only bad for like real bad for probably just a few minutes, and then kind of bad for a few days or a week, and then it's fine. But I might just rather skip all that.
Right. Yeah, like I don't find the appealing of, or the thought of ball slicing very appealing.
Yeah.
But I actually have talked to a few different people that have had the snip. And they said even during, it wasn't that bad.
Huh.
Like I had one friend that was like, yeah, I think they'd given him Xanax, like while he was in the waiting room because he was all nervous, understandably.
Yeah.
And then they did like a whole bunch of like local anesthetic in the area. And then like when they did the deed, he was like, yeah, it just sort of felt like I felt a few like tugs down there, but it didn't hurt.
Huh.
And then it was over. and I was high as fuck and it felt really good. And then, yeah, I guess when like the anesthesia wears off, it can be pretty sore and like you can swell, but that's not like necessarily the normal thing.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's just that you can, but you also might not.
Yeah. I think one guy I know online had like, it was pretty painful and swollen for a little while, but like he also said, that it was like the unusual reaction, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm actually seriously considering it not just for, but like I think one of the biggest benefits would be like people hear you got the snip and they're like, oh really? And you're like, yeah, like I don't ever want to risk bringing a human into this world, like how it is now, and like really have them think like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's a good view, and I should take that view as well.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Anyway, I do have one further joke. I guess I probably should have told this one after my IT related debacle. But, what do you call it when an IT guy dies and gets cremated?
What?
He's migrating to the cloud.
Nice. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, on that note, shall we find out who from Atlantis migrates to the cloud?
Indeed, I'm sure some will be very soon. Let's find out.
So here on the 22nd episode of season 4, this is the 4th episode of the Underwater Menace.
Mm-hmm. Is this one another not lost episode?
No, unfortunately, this one is missing again.
Oh, okay.
So I went to the animation this time. I figured since I watched the loose cannon reconstruction for episode 1, I figured I'd change it up for episode 4.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this in episode 1, but the animation in this serial is definitely higher quality than the super rushed animation for Power of the Daleks. It's like at least a couple steps up from like Star Trek the Animated Series quality.
Nice.
Yeah. The characters have like different facial expressions that change, and they don't put their hands in front of their mouths when they speak and stuff.
That's good.
Do you remember our Cliff Dingler from episode 3?
Yeah. So the team had broken into basically the secret room in the cult temple, and they dragged the mad scientist in there with them. Man, I suck with names. I want to call him Zaroff, yes. And I don't specifically remember why, but most of the team had gone back out, and then Zaroff stabbed with a random sword. He was able to stab the priest that was on the good guy's side. Not Robo. Ramo. He stabbed Ramo and then grabbed Polly and disappeared with her. And then Ramo was able to stumble out from the secret room and expire before everyone. And then, everyone was like, oh, crap. Ran back into the secret room, and Zaroff and Polly are nowhere to be found.
Yeah, and then Zaroff shows up in the council chamber and shoots Governor Thaus. A couple other people get shot. And Ben and the doctor then show up at the council chamber a few moments later, and I guess Zaroff is already gone, but they find Governor Thaus. Turns out it doesn't look like it was a critical hit or anything.
That's lucky.
It doesn't look too good, though. Neither for you with the bullets in you.
So they start trying to lift him up and get him to safety. It's not critical, but he is basically unconscious. They get him into the secret back room behind the temple where Sean and Jacko and Ara are all waiting. Jamie and Polly are apparently heading towards Zaroff's lab because they were going to go look for the doctor there. So they're not here. Doctor tells everyone who is here that he has a plan. Sean and Jacko will be in charge of evacuating the lower levels of Atlantis, where the temple and Zaroff's laboratory are located. Meanwhile, Ben and the doctor are going to make their way to the generating station, crank up the reactor, and that will somehow break the seawalls down and flood Zaroff's lab. It's actually going to flood like the entire lower levels of Atlantis, but that includes Zaroff's lab, so...
Right, this is starting to sound like a dwarf fortress fuck up to me.
Yeah, at a certain point, you've just got to like cut your losses. And
looks like the kitty's going in. Nice.
Yeah, at a certain point, you just got to cut your losses, and like you can tell your dwarves to get to the assembly point, but eventually you're just gonna have to like close that door and pull that lever.
Right, and just sort of, you just gotta turn your feelings off and sacrifice everything. And usually you're sacrificing more crap than you're going to realize, and you just have to sort of be prepared to say like, yep, well, that was probably going to go away anyway.
Yeah. Matilda.
There's only one thing that's worrying me.
What's that?
Can we all swim?
Oh yeah, Jamie can't, right? Didn't he say he couldn't?
I think he previously said that he couldn't really.
Uh-oh.
Back in Zaroff's lab, Zaroff is there, and he has started receiving reports from various reactor stations, and apparently Station Z3 has a fault showing on one of its gauges, so Zaroff orders them to bring in the reserve.
Nothing can go wrong now. Nothing must go wrong.
You're not in a good situation when you start saying shit like that. But.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Station 11 apparently has just been entirely abandoned by all of its workers.
Nice.
They're out looking for food.
Why?
The food supplies have not arrived, and there's a rumor we're facing starvation. They've all panicked.
Excellent.
So, hell yeah, the food workers' strike is having an effect.
Right. Panic, that's a kind of a condescending asshole way to put it, but I still like what I'm hearing.
Yeah, if it's like all of our food will no longer be good within 4 hours and then we can never eat again, I think, panic is kind of a condescending way to put that.
Yeah, well, and I mean, the workers knew exactly what was going to happen. They have a plan. They're following the plan. But, the higher-ups, I bet they're panicking.
Totally. Yeah, and then, a fish person named Luigi runs into one of the farm CEOs outside of a meeting, and
yeah, we don't know if it was him for sure or not, but somehow that farm CEO is not breathing anymore. Yeah.
And, even though it has very much not been proven that it was him, he still makes a good symbol.
Right. Dude looks, pretty nice. He's handsome. Makes a good icon.
Yeah, you can wear a green hat, put a little L on it.
Yeah. Walk around eating mushrooms. Jumping on bad guys. Cool shit.
Ben and the doctor have to get past a guard in order to get where they're going. The GM kind of describes the area. He's like, there's no way to cross this room without dealing with this guard somehow. Ben is still wearing the wetsuit that Zaroff's guards wear. So the doctor is like, hey, remember in Star Wars when Luke and Han pretend to be stormtroopers with Chewie as their prisoner? Let's do that.
Nice.
Yeah, so they do. And Ben tells the guard that he was ordered to escort this prisoner to Professor Zaroff, and the guard asks Ben for the password.
Oh.
So Ben's like,
Yeah, well, look, it's all right for you giving me the old chat, mate, but I don't know nothing about passwords. I've been out chasing this Burke all day.
Nice. Nice.
The guard's like, dude, Zaroff's not even here anyway. And Ben's like, yeah, duh, of course. I was ordered to bring the prisoner and wait for Zaroff. So the guard's like, how do we even know that this is actually a prisoner, a wanted man? And Ben's like,
Oh, blimey, look at him. He ain't normal, is he?
Nice. He's just hitting home runs on this one. Nice improvisation there, Ben.
Yeah, so Ben rolls a bluff check, the guard rolls a wisdom check, and then the guard's like, cool, proceed.
Obviously. Well handled.
As they proceed, the doctor turns back toward the guard and shouts,
You don't know the password either.
And the guard's like,
It's Oscar. Get him out of here! Get out!
Oh, very clever. Oscar's, I was going to say, it's probably something like, fish food or plankton or seaweed, but Oscar is a type of fish, so.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, tomorrow the password's going to be crappy, and the day after that the password's going to be sturgeon, and
right. When they're feeling extra funky, they make the password like Nemo or something.
So Ben and the doctor keep going. A corridor or two later, they encounter another guard who asks for the password, and Ben says Oscar, and the guard's like, all right, cool, lets him into the power station.
Nice.
So Ben goes into sneak mode and performs a silent takedown on the only engineer in the room. And then he starts cutting cables, and the doctor starts pulling levers.
Nice.
The spinner thingy of the generator and the background hum, first they both kind of slow down and get pretty low, but then they speed up and get way higher than they were initially. And a danger light lights up on one of the control panels. Ben asks the doctor if he knows what he's doing, and the doctor's like,
Oh, what a question! Of course I don't! There's no rule against trying, is there?
Fair enough. I guess, he is pretty good at throwing random levers to break shit.
Yeah, he's done that a few times now, so.
And I guess that's probably easier than throwing random levers with a specific goal in mind that's not breaking shit.
Are you struggling with the stresses of modern life? Here is an easy solution for all of your problems. First, relax. Then, open up your browser or your podcast listening device. Navigate to the Doctor's Watcher. and begin leaving 5-star ratings. You will soon feel the stress begin to melt away. Once you begin sharing the podcast with friends and family, you will feel enveloped in a warm, calm, peaceful feeling. Relax.
Zaroff just can't catch a break. He keeps getting more and more bad reports in his lab. There are readings he can't explain. It seems like there's even a radiation leak somewhere. And meanwhile, Polly and Jamie are going through tunnels and caves. They're going along ledges and shit. They hope that they're following the directions that Ara gave him and that they haven't gotten lost, but they're not really sure of that. They are very close to like the actual seawall, like basically the edge of Atlantis that the ocean is on the other side of. Mm-hmm. And they can see that part of it is glowing and maybe starting to vibrate and crack. Polly thinks that the glowing bit might be radiation. Jamie's like, "What's that?" And Polly's like, "It's too difficult to explain."
That's fair.
But they definitely agree that they should be getting to higher ground. So they go and climb some shit and go up more ledges and, follow uphill tunnels and paths. And it's just in time, like the glowing part of the seawall gives way and water comes rushing in.
So do we actually find out why it was glowing, or is it just like it was glowing so that part could break and water could come in?
Yeah, that was basically it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Zaroff detected a radiation leak. Polly saw a glowing rock. It broke, and we don't hear about radiation for the rest of the episode.
Nice. All right. Fair enough.
Sean and Jacko and Ara are also heading through tunnels and caves and shit, heading uphill. They've got Thaus on a stretcher, so they're carrying him along. They start to hear a rumbling sound, and they correctly surmise that this is the sound of the sea starting to break in and Atlantis starting to flood. We cut over to the temple, where a big rush of water breaks the statue of Amdo, and the whole temple fills with water. I do want to mention that although the animation is pretty good generally, the water is not necessarily great, but making good-looking water is a very difficult problem in animation, so I don't fault them too heavily for that.
Yeah, agreed.
The chief surgeon from a few episodes ago shows up in the tunnels, Damon, and Sean is like, "Oh, cool, good, you got my warning." And Thaus is like, "Oh, Damon, we can rebuild and shit." And Sean's like, "Yeah, only if we GTFO right now." So they keep G'ing TFO.
Smart.
We check back in with Polly and Jamie briefly. It seems like they basically are lost now, since they were rushing to get uphill and stuff. Polly wants to go back to try to find the others and warn them and see if they can find some other way out. But Jamie says that he was looking as they went and there aren't any other ways. He didn't see any other paths for them to follow. So they basically have to keep going. He does notice that the flame in his lantern is flickering, and that's because there's a draft. So they figure they just need to follow this draft, and maybe, they'll get out of the caves and whatever.
That makes sense, I suppose.
Damon has set up a little first aid station. He and Sean and Jacko and everyone have gotten into a cave up in the mountains. So he's treating Thaus's wound, and he tells Thaus that the lower parts of the city are already flooded.
A great enemy that we held at bay for so many centuries. The everlasting nightmare is here at last.
That's awesomely poetic.
Yeah, totally. Thaus asks about the high priest Lolem, and Damon's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he was going to pray to Amdo in the temple, and Thaus is like, well, he's fucking dead then. And they keep talking about basically all the Atlanteans who didn't make it out before the flood hit. And Sean's like,
well, probably a better death than the one that's in store for us when Zaroff lets off his explosion.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you'd either be like instantaneously crushed under, 10,000 pounds per square inch of water. Or you'd be instantaneously vaporized by a huge ass explosion that you would never see coming.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. They seem pretty equal to me.
Yeah, honestly, if you're not like one of the few people who knows about Zaroff's plan, the explosion might be better just purely because you don't know it's coming.
Yeah, you're not like scared of what's about to happen. You're just like walking down the hallway 1 minute and the next minute you're obliterated.
Yeah, it's like, awesome. I survived the flooding. I managed to escape. I'm totally relieved about that. And now I don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds kind of nice, actually.
The doctor and Ben enter Zaroff's lab, and the doctor starts talking about how loyal the lab technicians must be to Zaroff to allow him to blow them all up. And they're all like, what now? And the doctor's like, oh shit, I'm sorry, you didn't tell them? And he tells Zaroff that the sea has broken through the walls and it's gonna flood this chamber soon. And Zaroff's like, that's bullshit, you're lying. And the doctor's like,
then perhaps the distant roaring that we can hear is just the goddess Amdo with the indigestion.
So the lab techs all flee. Zaroff explains to the doctor that this is fine. He doesn't actually need the lab techs. He just needs to wait until this gauge that he's looking at is over 1,000 and then plunge this plunger. It's like the classic good. Like thing that you push down to blow up some explosions.
Nice.
So the doctor basically starts trying to talk Zaroff into giving up, but Zaroff hits a button or whatever on a nearby control panel, and a portcullis descends, which traps Zaroff like in his lab with the plunger, and it keeps the doctor and Ben on the other side of the portcullis, like now unable to access either Zaroff or the plunger themselves. Ben starts acting pretty nervous about the impending flood. He's like, doctor, like, I need to fucking go. This room's gonna flood. I'm getting out of here. And so Zaroff starts teasing the doctor about having his own deserters. After the doctor was ripping him about the lab techs leaving. And the doctor's just like, yeah, whatever. Zaroff says that he's going to plunge the plunger long before the water gets here anyway. So, it's fine. The doctor says that it would be more exciting in the dark. And he cuts some cables and all the lights turn off.
Nice.
Zaroff actually laughs about this and like calls the doctor a comedian. And then he raises the portcullis and he comes over to start tying the doctor up as the emergency backup systems kick into place and the lights come back on.
Of course.
Right.
I guess that would be... Probably should have seen that one coming.
But what Zaroff did not see coming is that it turns out Ben didn't actually leave. He just kind of went and hid. So now he rushes over and he hits the portcullis button and rolls under it as it descends. So now he and the doctor and Zaroff are all on the non-plunger side of the portcullis.
Oh, nice work, Ben.
Yeah, totally. So Zaroff starts shouting in anger and despair. He fires his gun off a few times as Ben and the doctor both GTFO.
I like the image of this guy like, no, blam, 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 blam.
Yeah, it's pretty great, actually. He's a really fun villain. So Ben and the doctor flee, and as they're running through hallways, the doctor pauses and he says that he's going to go back. He can't just leave Zaroff there to drown. Ben is like, dude, what the fuck? We have to GTFO and you're coming with me. Don't worry about that, asshole. And so he just drags the doctor along with him, basically. Meanwhile, we have like gone back to check in with Jamie and Polly a few times in between some of the previous scenes. I didn't mention it because there's not really much to say. They're just like going uphill in caves and tunnels.
Okay.
But we check in with them again, and Polly is getting really exhausted at this point because they've, obviously they're in a rush. They've been running, it's uphill, and they're still rushing as much as they can. So she basically hits the point where she feels like she can't go on any longer. She falls down. She starts having an emotional breakdown, which honestly is pretty understandable.
Yeah.
But they don't really have time for her to have a breakdown right now. So Jamie says that he will help her, and he's very encouraging. He gives her his hand. He helps her to her feet, and, the two of them continue up the tunnel, and the phone rings over at the nearest shipyard, and they start receiving specifications for the PJ.
I was about to say, what are we going to call this ship? Yeah, it's got to be PJ, because either you're left with Jamie or Polly, or Jane Paul Jame. Doesn't sound good.
Yeah, I thought about it for a bit. It's we could do Paul Me. I don't know. That's not very good. Jame Lee, also not great. Jame Paul. So, yeah, I think it's PJ.
Definitely PJ.
Which, in my notes, I'm spelling out PEE-JAY.
Cool. Okay. That's how it is now in my brain as well.
So we cut around a little bit. In Zaroff's lab, the water is up to his chest now. And he's reaching through the portcullis. He's stretching and trying to reach the plunger, but it's just too far. He can't quite reach it. Ben and the doctor, meanwhile, are going uphill in caves and tunnels. That is a very common theme in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But the PJ reaches fresh air.
Nice.
Jamie doesn't think the doctor and Ben stood much of a chance, though. He's I think they probably would have died in all the flood and shit. So he and Polly head toward the beach to basically start mourning their lost friends and think about what to do next. Meanwhile, back in Zaroff's lab, the water's at like neck height on him now. This gauge that he's been watching that needs to get over 1,000 has stopped rising, and it just has like died and gone down to the bottom. And the water is high enough now that Zaroff's pet squid has come out of its tank. So it swims around a little bit. It actually swims over to the plunger, and it wraps a few tentacles around the plunger. And Zaroff, who's completely submerged now, he watches this with excitement, and he's like kind of motioning with his hand, like trying to tell the squid to like push the plunger down.
Do it, Mr. Squishy, do it.
And it does for a moment, like it seems like it's going to. It kind of like starts pushing it a little bit, but then it just lets go and it swims through the portcullis, and geez, TFO.
Nice. Mr. Squishy's like, yeah, no, this is awesome. I got all this area to explore. I'm not going to push your stupid lever.
So Mr. Squishy goes to explore the newly underwater Atlantis, and Zaroff is left alone to drown in his lab.
Too bad he didn't have the gill upgrade.
Seriously.
He forced on so many other people.
I wonder if they even bothered evacuating, or if they're just going to like start a new free fish people civilization under the sea.
That seems the best choice. I mean, you know, it's just them now, and it's like, seems like it'd probably be easy to get enough plankton. You wouldn't even have to worry about it going bad.
Yeah, totally. Like,
it's just so much, you can just kind of eat it whenever you want.
Yeah, it's kind of like the natural universal basic income.
Yeah, exactly. Like their situation just vastly improved.
Yeah, seriously. Damon, Thaus, and Ara are in a different mountain cave. They are discussing how the doctor probably died saving them. So Thaus says that they'll raise a stone to him in the temple. And Damon's like,
No more temples. It was temples and priest and superstition that made us follow Zaroff in the first place.
Nice.
Yeah, so
amen.
He says that they will
build a new Atlantis without gods and without fish people.
Yes, that shall be his memorial.
Okay, but what are you going to eat there, buddy? Cool idea. Hope it works out, but I just don't see it.
Yeah. Up in the Doctor and Ben's cave, Ben suddenly gets sad because he realizes that Polly and Jamie are probably dead.
Oh.
So, you know, he's sad, the Doctor's sad. They're like, all right, well, guess we should just head to the TARDIS. And so they exit from their mountain cave into the next mountain cave, where they see Jamie and Polly and the TARDIS.
Yay!
Yeah, Jamie and Polly actually don't see Ben and the Doctor enter the cave, so Ben and the Doctor get the opportunity to like sneak up and surprise them, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, if you've already decided your friends are dead and then they surprise you, it seems like it could be fun or it could be quite disturbing.
Yeah. But yeah, so they surprise him and they all have a nice little reunion, and the four of them all head into the TARDIS, and Sean and Jacko arrive in this mountain cave just in time to see the TARDIS dematerialize.
No, I can't believe it.
What?
A flaming English police box.
Nice.
In the TARDIS control room, they all talk about how they're not sorry to be G'ing TFO. Jamie remarks that he'll never know how the TARDIS works, but it's pretty awesome that he feels so safe inside of it.
It's only the wee things outside that are, well, alarming.
Fair enough, yes.
He starts asking the Doctor if it's true that the Doctor can't really control the TARDIS and make it go where he wants it to go. But the Doctor insists that he could if he wanted to, he's just never wanted to.
Okay.
So, of course, everyone's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And the Doctor's like, fuck you, I'll prove it. We're going to Mars. And he starts flipping switches and pulling levers and shit. But then the TARDIS's background hum changes and the camera tilts and everyone pretends to fall over to that side of the room that the camera tilts toward. And, you know, things are going bad. Ben asks the Doctor if he can do something. And the Doctor's like,
Do something? I seem to have done something. It's all your fault. Wanting me to tamper with the steering. I'm very sorry, everybody, but I'm afraid the TARDIS is out of control.
Oh, no. Not again.
And as Polly screams, the words say Doctor Who Patrick Troughton.
Awesome. Well, that was pretty great. Even at the end of this serial, we got our own little cliffdangler.
Yeah, they don't always give us end of serial cliffdanglers, but it's fun when they do.
Yeah, it's nice and satisfying wrap up. You know, the bad guys all drowned, as well as a bunch of innocent people. The fish people are, you know, now free to live in fully automated luxury fish communism. And yeah, I guess there's a few stragglers who, for some reason, think it's a good idea to try and rebuild Atlantis, but
yeah,
without all the capitalism, which I just don't think is probably going to be feasible.
Yeah,
without slave labor, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole idea of like, if your business can't afford to pay your workers minimum wage or better, then like maybe you shouldn't be in business.
Yeah. Like there's this thing called unsustainability, and that's what you have.
if your society and culture like relies on slave labor in order to feed everybody, maybe that's not a sustainable society.
Yeah, right. Because, you know, as Margaret Thatcher once didn't say, but probably should have, under capitalism, you eventually run out of other people's money.
Yeah, pretty much.
But, well, very cool. Again, respect to the Doctor Who series for pointing out all of these flaws with capitalism and tyranny. And slave labor and etc. Pretty cool. And they, you know, touched on like, I'm not sure if I'm using this correctly, but like, you know, empty ideologues and people who, you know, through religion or charisma or whatever, just kind of control others and manipulate them and take advantage of them that way.
Yeah, totally.
Nice statement on that. So, yeah, I guess probably once the Doctor and PJ and Ben get far enough away, it'll probably all just be water under the bridge at that point.
Nice. Yeah, water under the bridge, water in the caves. Water in the temple.
Right. Water under the TARDIS. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Do you recommend the series?
Yeah, I thought this was a really fun one. I liked it a lot. It did have some kind of colonialist overtones of like civilizing the savages with like, you know, all the talk of like science versus gods and religion. Mm-hmm. So I don't necessarily love kind of the colonialism of it, but it was still a pretty fun serial. And like the colonialist overtones were not like the main thing as they sometimes are.
Right. Good call out though. It's so easy to miss those considering our colonialist infested society here in the US at least. And I'm sure Britain is similar.
If you can find the animation, that would definitely be the way that I would recommend watching it. It's maybe worth watching like one or two of the 2 episodes that actually exist, just so you can see like the actual sets and costumes and stuff. But the animation is pretty worth watching, even for the ones that do exist, honestly. That's, you know, a pretty clear and high definition picture, which is very much not the case in the actual episode.
Right.
The sets and the costumes might honestly be better in the animation than in the actual episode.
Cool.
But yeah, it was a fun sci-fi adventure with a great power-hungry mad scientist. I figure Doctor Who as a series had to visit Atlantis eventually. So I'm glad we did. I'm not really sure whether the PJ moment was kind of intended that way or not, but I'm really curious to see like if that ship sets sail or if there are turbulent waters between it and the HMS Pollen.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah, agreed. Geez, you dropped such such good fish references that I totally just forgot what I was about to say. So cool.
Nice.
Excellent. Well, yeah, that was very fun. I remember. I can't remember if I ever cashed this in, but at the end of the Highlander serial, I totally predicted that they were going to go weird sci-fi, and they totally did. So,
you did.
This is me cashing that in now.
Nice.
Not that predicting that Doctor Who is going to be sci-fi is anything revolutionary, but it is what it is. So I'll take it. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I can't wait to see where they end up next. I mean, I guess even if it is Mars, that'll still sort of be a surprise.
Yeah.
But overall, this was a great serial.
Nice.
Anything further? Any more notes?
Just to remind our listeners that if you want to contact us, you can do that. The show notes tell you how. You are encouraged to leave us ratings and reviews and whatever, as long as they're good. If you don't like the show, then you can just stop listening. You don't have to tell everyone that it sucks. You can just stop listening.
Right. But I mean, on the other hand, almost any publicity is good publicity. So
true.
If you were to scream and cry about how bad it sucks, that might be pretty okay too.
Yeah. Try to encourage other people to check it out and see if they think it sucks too.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess the thought that I'll leave with our listeners at the end of this serial is the reason the ocean is so salty is because the shore never waves back.
Nice. And with that, we will say goodbye and not wave at our listeners.
But I am going to wave at you. Okay, bye.
Bye.
It's a fact, though, Doctor. You can't exactly control the TARDIS.
Control it? Of course I can control it.
No, what I meant was, can you not exactly make it go where you mean it to?
If I wanted to. It's just I never wanted to.
Oh, yes, I bet.
Right. Just for that, I'll show you. Now then, where's we go? I know. Let's go to Mars.